Let me tell you something. The world ain't playing by the same rules anymore. For the longest time, one country sat at the top of the mountain, chest out, calling all the shots. America was the name everybody whispered with power, and the rest of the world just nodded. But see, life has a funny way of flipping the script, because right now, there's a quiet storm rising, a force that nobody thought would shake the system. That force is India. Now, I know for years people looked at India and saw call centers, spices, yoga, culture, all beautiful things, but they missed the real story. They didn't see the hunger. They didn't see the ambition. They didn't see a nation of over 1 billion people waking up every morning with a dream to stand shoulder to shoulder with the giants. And while the rest of the world was busy watching their own reflection, India was building brick by brick, code by code, idea by idea. America built its power on innovation, influence, and a head start. But India built its power on resilience, on patience, on that grind that don't sleep. You go to any corner of the world today, Silicon Valley, London, Dubai, you'll find an Indian engineer, a scientist, an entrepreneur shaping the future like it's their birthright. And that ain't luck, that's vision. Now, here's where it gets real. The power shift nobody saw coming. It's not about armies or bombs or who's got the most satellites in space. It's about influence. It's about who controls the next generation of ideas, the digital currency of the mind. And in that arena, India's coming in hot. They're coding the future, designing the tech, leading the conversations that shape tomorrow's economy. While others were arguing politics, India was learning patience. While others were printing money, India was investing in minds. And that's the difference between noise and legacy. When a country learns how to invest in its people, not just its power, it becomes unstoppable. You can't ignore it anymore. The balance is shifting. America's still strong, no doubt about that. But the respect game has changed. It's no longer about who dominates, it's about who contributes. And India's contribution to the world, it's growing faster than anybody can count. So what's the lesson here? Never underestimate the quiet ones. Never laugh at the dreamers. Never think the game is locked just because one player has been winning too long. Because somewhere in the background, another player has been studying every move, every mistake, every strength. And when their time comes, they don't ask for permission. They take the stage with confidence, with pride, and with purpose. That's what's happening right now. A shift, a rise, a new kind of power that doesn't brag, it builds. That's India today and the world. The world better pay attention. The world used to measure power in tanks, borders, and bombs. But today it's a whole different game. The global balance of power is shifting from who can dominate to who can contribute. This isn't about who talks the loudest. It's about who builds the future with the most purpose. We're living in an age where influence doesn't come from intimidation, but from innovation, from who can lift others while lifting themselves. The stage isn't reserved for those who conquered in the past. It's open for those who can create what's next. Power is no longer sitting in the hands of the few. It's being rewritten by nations that understand the value of participation, collaboration, and shared progress. See, the world doesn't need another superpower that tells others what to do. It needs a power that leads by example, that inspires through contribution. The countries that once fought to control resources are now competing to control ideas, and that's where the balance is changing. The world, economy, digital revolution, and cultural narrative are no longer the property of one flag. It's now a global conversation, and the loudest voices are not always the most powerful ones. The ones that bring solutions, that show compassion, that build bridges instead of walls. Those are the ones reshaping what strength means in the modern era. This shift isn't sudden. It's been growing quietly beneath the noise of politics and competition. The real revolution has been in education, technology, and connectivity. The internet gave every nation a seat at the table, but only a few knew how to use that opportunity to their advantage. The ones who realize that true power is about adding value to the world, not taking it, are the ones climbing now. That's what's breaking the old structure, the old mindset where might equaled right. The nations that focus on empowering their people, developing talent, and sharing ideas are writing the next chapter of human progress. The world's eyes are slowly turning toward those who contribute to the collective good, because that's the new standard for greatness. We've reached a point where contribution defines credibility, where kindness and collaboration can do what force never could. The countries that understand this truth are no longer waiting to be invited into the conversation. They're leading it through the power of purpose and progress, and India's rise didn't come from dominance or conquest. It came from a deep-rooted resilience that the world underestimated for far too long. This country has faced centuries of struggle, from colonization to poverty, And every challenge only sharpened its determination. Where some nations built power through wealth or war, India built it through endurance, learning how to stand tall when the odds were stacked against it. That patience, that quiet strength became its foundation. India's progress wasn't overnight. It was the result of millions of people working tirelessly, generation after generation, turning every setback into an opportunity to learn, grow, and evolve. The beauty of India's story lies in its balance between tradition and transformation. It never forgot its roots, even as it reached for the stars. You look around today and see a country blending ancient wisdom with modern technology, spiritual grounding with scientific innovation. That combination is rare. It's what gives India its edge, the ability to move forward without losing itself. The resilience that once helped it survive is now helping it thrive. And that shift is changing how the world sees power. Because true strength isn't about how loud you roar, it's about how long you can stand when storms hit. Patience has been India's greatest weapon. While other countries chase quick wins, India played the long game. It understood that real power comes from sustainability, from building a system that can last. Its innovation didn't explode overnight. It grew quietly in classrooms, in tech labs, in small villages where young dreamers believed they could make something bigger than themselves. That kind of growth doesn't fade, it compounds. And now, the world is seeing the results of decades of focus, discipline, and belief. Innovation has been the bridge between resilience and progress. India didn't just copy what others were doing, it created its own solutions to its own problems, from space exploration to digital payment systems, from renewable energy to artificial intelligence. It's redefining what it means to be a developing nation. Every new success story adds to a global shift that proves you don't need dominance to earn respect. You just need to stay consistent, stay committed, and stay grounded in purpose. India's power comes not from how it commands others, but from how it inspires them to rise alongside it. In this new era, true power isn't measured by how many weapons a nation holds or how large its army stands. It's measured by influence, by technology, and by the power of human potential. The world has shifted into a digital battleground where ideas are the ammunition and innovation is the armor. Nations that once relied on physical might are now being challenged by those that harness the intelligence, creativity, and resilience of their people. The ability to shape thought, to guide the direction of global progress, that's where power truly lives now. Influence has become the invisible force that dictates how the world moves, and technology is the engine that drives it forward. Technology is no longer just a tool, it's a throne. Whoever commands it commands the narrative. From artificial intelligence to renewable energy, from quantum computing to biotech, every breakthrough becomes a statement of leadership. And the nations that invest in innovation are the ones controlling the pace of the future. But technology alone isn't enough. It's the people, the thinkers, the coders, the inventors, the educators who transform those tools into progress. The nations that empower their citizens to create rather than just consume are the ones holding the real keys to global influence. Human potential is the new currency of power. You can build skyscrapers and weapons, but if you don't build minds, you're building on sand. The countries that recognize the value of education, the power of curiosity, and the importance of nurturing talent are the ones setting themselves apart. They're proving that the future doesn't belong to those who have the most, but to those who make the most of what they have. When people are given the space to think freely, to challenge ideas, and to innovate without fear, they become unstoppable forces of change. Influence now travels through screens, through platforms, through the shared experiences of billions of connected minds. The nations shaping that flow of information, the ones guiding the global narrative with vision and authenticity, are redefining what it means to lead. Power isn't about control anymore, it's about connection. It's about who can inspire, who can unite, and who can set the rhythm of progress through innovation and imagination. America has long stood as the symbol of success, innovation, and leadership. A nation that defined the modern world through its ambition and influence. Its legacy is undeniable. It built systems, industries, and ideals that inspired billions across the planet. But now a new player is rising with a force that can't be ignored. India's momentum is growing faster than most ever expected. And it's not just about economics or politics. It's about mindset. It's about how a nation once underestimated is now rewriting what progress looks like. While America still holds immense strength in its institutions, creativity, and influence, India's energy is raw, fresh, and fearless. It represents a kind of hunger that comes from decades of striving, learning, and refusing to give up. America's story is one of confidence, a nation that built its success on the foundation of opportunity and freedom. India's story, however, is one of transformation, from struggle to strength, from dependence to dominance in key sectors like technology, space, and innovation. What makes this shift so powerful is that India's rise doesn't weaken America. It redefines the global balance. For the first time, there's a genuine partnership forming between experience and energy, between legacy and potential. The old idea of one superpower standing above all others no longer fits this world. Now, it's about collaboration, about sharing influence and responsibility and shaping the next chapter of humanity. India's momentum is undeniable because it's driven by youth, by talent, by the desire to prove that no dream is too big. America still leads in innovation, but India's sheer scale of ambition and adaptability gives it an edge in areas where flexibility and speed matter most. The rise of India's digital economy, its expanding global influence, and its growing role in international politics are all signs that the world's power map is shifting. This shift doesn't mean competition in the old sense of rivalry, it's more of a rebalancing. The respect game has changed. It's no longer just about who has the biggest reach, it's about who has the deepest impact. America built the foundation, but India is bringing a new rhythm to the world stage, one that blends technology, spirituality, and innovation into a powerful narrative of renewal and pride. The nations that will define the future are not the ones printing the most money, but the ones investing in the most minds. The true wealth of a country lies not in its gold reserves or natural resources, but in its people, their creativity, intelligence, and ability to dream. When a nation chooses to pour its energy into education, research, and skill development, it creates an unstoppable force. That's the difference between temporary growth and lasting greatness. Investing in minds builds foundations that no economic crisis or political storm can shake. It creates generations of thinkers, problem solvers, and innovators who push the boundaries of what's possible. Money can buy technology, but it can't buy vision. It can build skyscrapers, but it can't build ideas. The future belongs to countries that understand this truth, those that see education not as a cost, but as an investment with the highest return. When you empower people with knowledge, you create the fuel for progress that never runs out. Nations that focus on developing their human capital are the ones setting the pace in science, entrepreneurship, and leadership. Every innovation starts with a mind that was once given the chance to learn, question, and imagine freely. India's journey proves this point powerfully. Instead of relying solely on external validation or borrowed systems, it built its own talent pipeline, one rooted in discipline and ambition. The engineers, doctors, scientists, and creators coming out of India today are not just filling jobs, they're shaping industries. That's the ripple effect of a country that believes in its people. When individuals are given access to education and the freedom to think, they become the architects of transformation. This is why India's growth feels organic, self-made, and sustainable. It's the product of millions of minds investing their best effort every single day. The future economy won't be driven by machines alone, but by the minds that program them. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, biotechnology, and space exploration. These are not just industries, they're reflections of human creativity at work. Countries that nurture curiosity, that encourage failure as a step towards success, will lead the world forward. Investing in minds means investing in the heartbeat of progress, and those who understand that will never run out of power or purpose, the quiet builders of today, are the ones who will lead tomorrow, because true leadership doesn't come from noise, it comes from consistency. In every era, the world focuses on the loud voices, the ones making headlines and chasing spotlight, while the real change is being built quietly by those who don't need attention to make impact. These are the people and nations that stay focused when others are distracted, that keep building when others are bragging. They don't talk about potential, they prove it through results. That's how power shifts, not in explosions, but in evolution, through patience, persistence, and purpose. The world rarely notices the groundwork while it's being laid. The spotlight loves the finished product, but the foundation is what truly determines how high a nation or person can rise. The quiet builders understand that progress takes time, that shortcuts create instability, and that true success is earned one layer at a time. They're not in a race to impress, they're in a mission to endure. And when their time finally comes, when the world realizes what's been growing right under its nose, it's already too late to stop it. That's what makes this kind of rise unstoppable. In today's world, where instant fame and quick recognition dominate, the art of patience is rare. But the builders, the ones investing in skills, in people, in purpose, they're the ones shaping the future. They don't wait for validation, they create value. Their focus isn't on how fast they can win, but on how long they can last. And because of that, their success carries depth, meaning, and impact that temporary victories can't match. India represents this spirit on a national scale. It spent decades quietly developing its industries, its education system, its infrastructure, and its people while much of the world overlooked it. Now that foundation is paying off. The rise wasn't sudden, it was strategic. That's the power of the quiet builder. By the time the world sees the results, the work has already been done. Every silent effort, every unnoticed milestone adds up to a wave too powerful to ignore. The future belongs to those who build without noise, who grow without approval, and who let their progress speak louder than their pride.